Welcome to another episode of Faith-Driven Leadership. We're really excited to have a guest with me today, Hayley Huls. Hayley, good to have you with me.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I've known Hayley for a few years, and one thing I've really appreciated about Hayley is that she's been in leadership at different levels. I've just seen you on different teams and different things, but then over the last year or two, you've actually been stepped into a management role, and so you're managing a team of about six to eight people. And so really excited to have you on today to hear how that journey has been and just connecting that faith and work walk together and what that's looked like. So I ask everybody really the same question. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you to this place in your life.
Yeah, well, I was raised in a Christian home, so my faith has been integral to my entire life. And I've always known that I want to work in some position that lets me serve people well. So I ended up at a faith-based organization. I've been there about 6 years and started kind of on the ground level. Entry level was really my first office job ever, actually. And over these 6 years, I've been given the opportunity to step into more and more responsibility and take ownership for more and more things until now being in a management position and managing my own team. So it's been a really incredible journey so far, and I've been really blessed to work with like-minded people and be given an opportunity to grow in that setting.
Yeah, exciting. Yeah. So just looking back, you mentioned 6 years at this current place, and that kind of has been formidable for you. Is there any experiences that really shaped your leadership and just mindset of leadership and management?
Yeah, something that really impacted my leadership journey, something that kind of was a catalyst, was I had started to realize that I felt I was outgrowing the position that I had been in. Okay. And I was really honest with my manager, who had been my manager basically the entire time. So we had a really good working relationship, and she knew me really well. So when I voiced that, she responded immediately and started thinking of things to give me and ways to prepare me for future leadership. So she started thinking creatively and really went out of her way to train me in things that I could own, give me opportunities to lead people on my team that I was peers with. So I hadn't done that before, and that was a huge step forward toward leadership.
Well, one of my next question was, anybody that actually impacted your leadership would have been this person, I assume.
It would have been her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing maybe because you talked about this was one of your first jobs and one of your first leadership jobs, that you assume or that is normal. That isn't normal, actually. I can tell you firsthand that a lot of times when somebody comes to their boss and says, "Hey, how can I help?" or "I think I'm reaching a ceiling," that kind of has a negative connotation with a lot of people. You may have seen that in other places as well. What was different, and any thoughts on what set you up so that you actually could model that with your people?
Yeah, I think the culture of the organization had a huge hand in that. The fact that everybody was on the same page with growing and wanting to serve, wanting to continue developing. There was a culture of professional development, which really set the tone. So then when I approached her and she listened and she responded quickly, her investment in me really allowed me to take advantage of that professional development culture. And I had watched her go through steps toward professional development herself. So seeing that she had a mind toward that for herself gave me confidence that I could approach her and she would respond in the same way, and she did.
Okay. So the culture that you're talking about really impacted you. You were able to observe it and be part of it, and it sounded like that impacted quite a few people. I'm curious, did everybody take advantage? I hear, different cultures, people have different cultures at different places they work, good or bad or neutral. This part of this culture sounds like it was leadership development focused. A lot of people might hear that and be like, "Oh, everybody did leadership development." True? False? Maybe?
I think everybody had the opportunity to pursue it, but not everybody did.
Okay.
I think something that I've been learning as I've been pursuing this is there are some people who are never going to be satisfied with where they're at, and they're always going to want to grow and improve and take a step forward and seek out any opportunity they can to do that. And I fall in that group. Yeah. But there are others who are happy right where they're at.
Yeah.
And maybe they've taken some steps forward, but they've reached a certain threshold and they're content there. Yeah. So even if the opportunities are there, they're not necessarily inclined to pursue them.
No, it's good. I'm thinking of, I've talked to managers and leaders that are frustrated with employees that don't want to grow. I have been there. If I have felt like, why don't they, what's missing here? Am I not pushing enough? Am I not providing enough? Or are they not motivated? And I've come to realize some people just are not driven in that way. They're driven in other ways, maybe. How have you balanced that on your team? Because I'm guessing the culture is still there to learn and grow, but you have different employees that maybe aren't as excited to learn and grow. Different stages of life as well. But you could have someone that's in their 20s and wants to grow or not grow, and someone in their 50s that wants to grow and not grow. So how have you, you've been in management for a few years now, so this is a short stint, but you've had to deal with this, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and I've also had quite a bit of turnover on my team. So I've worked with lots of different people. And I have started to notice, there are some who are really hungry for it. And when I offer it, because it's important to me, they grab onto that and they run with it and they take initiative there. And there are others who say, oh, that's great, thank you so much. And they maybe want to take advantage of that, but then they don't take any steps forward. And I'm kind of the one pushing that forward. And I've had to learn, I can't force that. And if they're going to grow, it's going to be because they want to, and they're asking for it, and they're hungry for it.
You don't have to answer this in detail. I'm just curious, have you seen the people that don't want to grow disappointed if they're passed over for projects, or do you think they generally accept that? Because I've had a little bit of both, but I've had a tendency where people don't want to grow, but then they get upset when they get passed over for a position increase, or they get passed over for not given a project lead. Have you had any experience with that? Has that been something or not really?
I haven't.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Good.
I have a very gracious team.
Great. That's great.
But I could certainly see how that would be a challenge.
I've just seen that. It's not extremes necessarily, but it can be I don't want to grow right now, but I still want to move up and all of that. So good. It's a balance as leaders where we have to balance that out and not hold it against the person, like you said. So is there a point where, this is faith-driven leadership is the name of the podcast. Is there a point in your journey, your life, where faith really began to influence the way you led or the way you lead now?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned earlier, faith has been integral to my entire life. I mean, this has motivated everything that I say and do. But something that I realized as I was stepping into leadership and stepping into management is I actually had a pretty serious disconnect. I had noticed that I thought about my role in local church ministry, even just in lay ministry, very differently than in the workplace, even though it's a Christian workplace. And I felt a lot of hesitancy to ask for opportunities to grow and ask for more because it felt vain and it felt arrogant and it felt entitled. And I have never felt that in a local church ministry context. The mindset there has always been, do whatever you can, and if there's more to be done, go in and do it and ask for more and serve as much as you can. So that disconnect that I identified actually held me back for a while from stepping into leadership. And I really had to work through a theology of work, essentially, and understanding that all that I do in work and in ministry and in recreation and anything that I do, I'm doing for the Lord, and I'm doing through His strength and His power. And if He's giving me gifts to use and I'm not using them because it feels prideful to use them, then I have a serious misunderstanding of the gifts that He's given and how He's calling me to use them. So I really had to work through that. So it was right around the start of leadership and management that those things started falling into place.
It's interesting that at both faith-based, but at one place you felt, hey, let's do it all and keep going, and the other one it's like, what does this disconnect look like? So it's been a journey for you. Has that affected also like your view of success in both situations or in your current role now?
Yeah, I think I didn't necessarily have a definition of success in local church ministry. At least not personal success, maybe ministry success or event success or something like that. But I didn't have any sense of personal success or accomplishment. So when I was trying to bridge that gap, that was one of the things I identified. There's no personal goal or success or achievement in the local church ministry context, but there is in the workplace. And I think that was the piece that felt more prideful, is
Interesting.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to pursue personal goals.
Mm.
It's for my own gain.
Mm.
And though it is objectively for my benefit and for my gain, it is not ultimately that. That's not why I'm pursuing that. But I had to really work that out before I could recognize it.
So let's say there's a 25 to 35-year-old woman or man who's listening to this, who's newer in management, newer in leadership, a person of faith, but just struggling with what you just talked about, which is, I want to be excellent, but is that pride? The Bible talks about you shouldn't be prideful. People take that out of the context sometimes. There's a good, and what does it bring honor to God? Any thoughts or advice you would give them in how to transition that mindset from, as you said, everything is to glorify God, even our personal development, in my opinion. So thoughts on that you could give, or what has helped you?
Yeah, honestly, slowing down and praying through the scriptures and saying, Lord, you have called certain people to certain things. And some of them are doing really great things. And there are so many people throughout the scriptures who are called to greater and higher things, but not for their own glory. Yeah. They're doing it because the Lord is calling them to it and he's equipping them for it. And if the Lord is calling me, if he's calling you to a position of leadership, if he's calling you to step into something bigger or greater or take on more responsibility, it's because he's particularly gifted you and he wants to use those gifts in that setting to serve those people and to move forward his mission. So who are you to say that you're being prideful by trying to grab onto that if he's laying it before you and asking you to step out in faith to pursue it? Yeah. I have to be a little mean to myself. So I have to come at myself with who are you to say that?
Sure.
Who are you to go against the Lord's will there?
I appreciate that. I've mentioned several times to clients that I have that we have to talk to ourselves. Audibly at times, I think, not just sit in a room and talk to yourself, but there is this mental mind game in our head that gives us negative thoughts, and we need to bring in the positive thoughts. No, I can appreciate that. It is that you're right in Scripture, and all through time, God ordains people to be in different positions. And so, are we in the right position? Yes. Should we pursue more higher positions? Potentially, that's a prayer point. But also then accepting whatever that is and learning to be the best we can in that position. That's what I encourage people, is to be the best you can in that position, which can be a struggle for people if they are not sure that that's where God wants them, and accepting that that's where they are supposed to be. Well, as you moved into more management, leadership of a team, that's a lot of stress, can be stressful, not a lot of stress. It can be stressful because it's a new paradigm shift of what's happening just in versus theoretical and doing some leadership to now being responsible for people. How have you found ways to remain spiritually healthy personally, dealing with, we'll say, different stressors that come with being a leader?
Well, it's certainly been a steep learning curve, if I'm being honest. There have been lots of stressors even outside of management. So that has been something that I've really had to work for and be intentional in. So some of the things that I've done include keeping my Bible and keeping a prayer book at my desk at work. And anytime I look over and think of it, I just take a second and I read and I pray. And it takes all of 2 minutes. But I do that frequently throughout the day because it's right there. And I write things down on sticky notes and post them up everywhere, little excerpts from a passage that I read or a line from a prayer. So I try to keep things really visible and keep them in front of me to remind myself to be prayerful throughout the day. And then another thing is intentionally praying for the members of my team and taking the time to invest in their health and their spiritual life, in their professional development and their well-being at work, taking the time to sit and pray for them and ask the Lord for wisdom and how to lead them well, keeps me connected to the Lord every step of the way, even as the stressors of managing people and managing 6 different people at a time, even as those stressors creep in and try to block all of that out. That keeps me connected.
It's good. Yeah, and it ties back to what you mentioned earlier. If God has put you in a role, he will equip you. Many of us at times, we all fall into the trap of, well, I'm in this role, now it's my turn to do it. And I need to do it all. And we lose track that, well, God put us here, he will sustain us, and we have to check in. No, I appreciate the prayer for the employees and encouraging them and understanding where they are. What's one of the hardest leadership lessons you've learned over these last couple of years?
Yeah, I think one of the lessons that has come from hard times is an instability or lack of clarity due to organizational change at the very top levels of the organization has an exponential impact on the lower levels. And in my management role, I sit right in the middle, and I'm advocating for leadership to my team and for my team to leadership. And in a time when there's a lot of instability and change and turnover, things are happening, it can be really challenging to try to provide stability and safety and clarity for your team members because you don't even have it yourself. So one of the things that I've been learning is how to be really honest without necessarily being totally transparent. They don't need all the details, but they need honesty, and they need to know, my team need to know enough of what's going on and how I'm interacting with it and where they stand to feel okay.
Yeah.
So I've been learning how to bridge that gap between leadership and my team, and then also be honest with leadership about how my team is doing and advocating for them and saying, they're in a tough spot right now. This is something I think could help. Do I have permission to move forward with this? Or can I share this piece of information with them? And really working to bring as much stability to my team as possible because it gets really rocky.
That's huge. Well, I would just say that's that's an awesome answer. And that is the right thing to do. Unfortunately, a lot of leaders don't do that. They cower to, I just don't know, or they don't want to take responsibility. So I appreciate that you're trying to bring clarity based on what you know. And it is, you're in middle management. It's challenging because you never have all the information. But you have enough to quote unquote be dangerous, right?
Sure.
I mean, to be able to pass information on. So it does take that courage to step up. And so how has that been, how have you seen that? So in the organization with change in general, not looking for anything positive or negative about the organization, but in general, was that consistent from other managers, or have you witnessed where it hasn't been? Where my point is, what have you seen happen if it isn't done well? And what has been a positive outcome for you being able to talk to your team? I'm sure everybody still has questions, but has it helped them just grasp the situation better, or what's been a positive outcome of that?
Yeah, I think a positive outcome is my team has stayed really unified in spirit. We have been in the trenches together, and I think my attempts to bring stability and my encouragement toward them to continue digging in with each other, supporting each other, they've really taken that to heart. And they've really rallied around each other and around me. They've supported me really well, which is just a manager's dream and never expected and never a given. So the fact that they're so willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with each other and jump in and help each other and encourage each other and call out wins even when things are going crazy, that has been a huge sign of positive movement.
That's great.
But another is other people on staff look to my team to set the tone. Because we're so united and because we have such a strong team culture and because I have done as much as I can to keep my team stable, I think other people on staff have seen that and come and ask my team questions and say, do you know what's going on, or what have you heard? Because they recognize that I have trusted my team with a certain amount and they trust me to give them what they need.
That's huge. It really does go both ways, doesn't it? I think that is a misnomer that managers think they need to protect their cards and keep all the information safe. There are some things we do need to keep safe and isn't for the general knowledge for employees. But it is a trust thing, sharing as much as is necessary to give them the ability to make their own decisions and to be able to think on their own versus just controlling the information. So no, that's huge, being able to be that guide. It is interesting. I was reading a book recently when it was talking about change and how change in organizations can go really bad or really great. But the key point in change, the root of it is fear. And people are afraid because they don't know what's out there. And I think that's part of what leaders, and that's what you did, it sounds like, is you were able to not answer all the questions, but alleviate some of the fear by giving direction. Would you feel that was true in your case? Just, I'm not looking for you to say yes, that was a great answer, but I'm just trying to think, I have seen that lived out. It really is, they're not looking for all the answers. They're trying to look for what is the new baseline. I don't know. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, I saw it as a little bit of like a life raft kind of deal. Like, hey, we're all in this together, and this is really turbulent right now, but here's something to hold on to, and here's something to provide stability in it.
Great.
And yeah, like you said, trying to do my best to address the fear and name it and say, I know that this feels really uncertain, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I want to hear those questions. And this is all that I can offer you right now, but I will try to get more. And being willing to say, I don't have that answer right now. Let me see if I can get more information for you.
Well, good job stepping up as a leader in that situation. No, seriously, it's easier to say, I don't know, we'll find out. When people actually have information, but to actually share it and have the hard conversations. And as you said, your team grew more respect of you, and also others saw that. It is modeled, and people gravitate to that. Well, let's dive into a couple leadership insights, if that's okay. Just some quick questions for you, or maybe not quick, but what are problems that you're most passionate about solving as a leader? Anything stood out these last several years for you?
I think communication is a big one for me. I'm a huge fan of clear and even sometimes over communication. I think it is always better to err on the side of saying things too many times or clarifying too far than to leave any ambiguity. So I think some of the challenges that I've tried to address, or the problems that I've tried to address, have primarily been focused on unclear communication. So I've tried to step in and say, this is what I'm hearing, is this what you're saying? Or if I'm giving a directive, asking clarifying questions at the end. Do you feel like you have everything you need? Do you have a clear understanding of what I'm asking you to do? Do you feel like you have the authority to make the decisions and move the thing forward? Or are you going to hit certain points where you're going to feel like you need to come ask me again because I'm trying to give you ownership of this? So instead of running into those problems down the road, asking them on the front end, this is my expectation. Is that what you got? And if not, then let's parse it out a little more.
No, that's huge. I assume that's been received well.
Yes.
And no, I don't know what to say except clear communication is exponential. Bad communication is devastating. And I don't think many leaders realize that. So that's great you're doing that. You may give the same answer. What are leaders commonly getting wrong today? You work with other leaders. What are you seeing that they're commonly missing?
Communication.
Okay, would you say that's one of the biggest?
That is one. I think another one is that honesty, transparency piece. Something that I've noticed is a desire to be transparent that maybe goes too far. Because they trust their team and they want their team to know. And I've certainly gone too far on that side and had to walk it back. But I've seen that tendency, but I've then seen the flip side of that, where they're so hesitant to be too transparent that, like you said, they hold all the cards close to the chest. And that just leaves a lot of room for questions and insecurity in their team. So I think having to walk that line is a challenge, but it's a really worthwhile challenge to tackle.
Is that something you just learned over the last several years, trial and error? You've seen it modeled? Just curious if anybody's watching, like, but that's great, Hayley, I hear you. Because we've all seen, not everybody, I have seen leaders share way too much information and I cringe. I'm in the room and I'm like, okay, we're going to be walking this one back for a long time. But then I've seen other leaders share nothing. Like literally, it's like, so this is what's happening. Have a great day. And I'm also cringe because I'm like, okay, everybody's gonna be knocking on my door. So any thoughts on how would you recommend for people to balance that out?
Yeah, some of it is trial and error, unfortunately. And I have trialed and I have erred and I have trialed again. But I did actually see it modeled really well by that manager that I mentioned earlier, the one I've worked with for a few years. I watched her navigate that and ask for wisdom from her leaders and come back to me and share, this is the most that I can share with you, or this is the most helpful that I can share with you, or even just saying, I know you don't have all the information right now, but I want you to remember that you can trust your leadership and you can trust the people who are making these decisions who do have the information. And even those pieces, those little nuggets and those pokes at me when I'm trying to get more information, those were really helpful. And they all kind of built up and up and up until I realized, no, that's a really good lesson to learn as an employee and as a manager. You do have to remind people that they can trust their leadership. And if they can't trust their leadership, that's a different issue.
True. And it sounds like she modeled it well for you, but she also had courage. And I think that's probably where you got some of your courage, is you got to see, she modeled it. I'm guessing she modeled it well for you. You learned that as well. But she also modeled, I just can't tell you more. And I quote, you said, I trust leadership. And if she's a good leader, which she obviously was, to help you get to your position, then she does trust leadership. She's not lying. I think that's the point, is we have to trust leadership. And there's a point where it's like, either you trust me or you don't. But this is where I stand. And it's that trial and error and learning. And I think giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt. All of us will at times share a little bit too much, and we will all hold back. But it's not just falling into those traps, I find. We want to keep asking those questions. Not a loaded question. I'll move on after this, but this is just really good, because I know a lot of people do struggle with this, and I have from time to time. What has helped you break out from sharing too much or sharing too little? Any thoughts on that? I know it's trial and error. Has there been a sounding board, or has there been just contemplation afterwards, like, wow, that didn't go well? I'm sure maybe a combination, but anything stick out? If not, we can move on. Just curious.
One of the things that I've started doing is just asking my leaders for permission to share information. Or if a piece of information is shared in a meeting, asking, can I share this with my team? And just advocating for my team in that way. But that gives me permission and freedom to say, these are the boundaries.
That's great.
This is what I can share. And I'm really good when I have clear boundaries. So I've just started asking for that from my leaders. And if my team is asking me and it's going the other direction, then even if I have information that would specifically address their question, but I'm not sure if I can share it, I'll tell them, let me go talk to one of my leaders about this and see if I can give some clarity.
That's great. One daily habit or two that's had the greatest impact on your effectiveness as a leader?
Routine is huge for me. So trying to do the same things in the mornings and trying to get to work at the same time and leave myself time to read and pray and kind of settle into the day is really helpful for me. And that helps me feel more productive in the morning, and it helps me feel more alert and present, and easing in that way helps me not immediately get overwhelmed. So that's been helpful. And then I also manage my own tasks in a separate, I have my own task list, and I do different prioritization and categorization, and knowing this is some place that I can come and just jot down an idea, or I can jot down something that just got added to my plate so that I don't forget, and later I can revisit and slot it into the right place and choose what I need to work on that day. Helps me manage my workload and not get overwhelmed.
Very good. Everybody has different styles. That's great. What's one question every leader should ask themselves more often?
I could go the really serious route with, what are my blind spots? And who can I ask to call them out? I think that's a really scary question, but it's a really important one, because we all have blind spots and we all have things that we miss. So asking a trusted friend or a trusted leader or manager or colleague, somebody who sees you on a regular basis, who can speak into that and say, yeah, I think like this is something that I've noticed that maybe you want to pay attention to, or maybe you don't even realize. I think that's a really important question to ask. Other than that, it's, am I working unto the Lord? Am I actually working unto the Lord? Or am I working unto man, either myself or other people? And who am I doing all of this for?
And both of those require reflection time. I think that's you mentioned earlier, slow down a while back. I don't know which question it was we were talking about, but you mentioned to slow down. I think that's a key part for leaders, is we tend to not slow down. There's always a fire to put out somewhere. Maybe we created it, but there's always a fire to put out, and it's that slow down and to reorientate ourselves. Yeah. Well, speaking of fires, not that you hopefully have any to deal with today, but how do you make difficult decisions when there isn't a clear answer?
Prayer. A lot of prayer. If I have to make a decision and I don't have clear answers, I don't have clear direction, or I have to make it in isolation and there's nobody that I can really soundboard things with, I pray a lot. And I just ask the Lord for wisdom. And I repeat the prayer as many times as I need in a 5-minute setting or, however long it takes to make the decision. I am pretty constantly praying and asking the Lord for wisdom and clarity and discernment. And then part of it is also just trusting your gut and your experience. And that's something that I've had to learn.
Yeah.
I really like empirical evidence. I like having data-backed decisions and moves to make. And if I don't have that, and I'm expected to make a decision, I really have to work myself up to say, I have experience in this. I have all of the information I can possibly have, which feels like a lot less than I want. And I have reasoning for making this decision so I can answer if it goes poorly. And I can back it up and say, well, this is the information that I had. This is how I thought through it. I needed to make a decision, and this is the one that I made. And just trusting my gut and saying, even if it goes poorly, I didn't just shoot from the hip and make a rash decision. I thought through it, and I can back that up.
Yeah. No, I really do appreciate that answer. It really is a combination. It's not a either or of, well, God's just going to figure it out, or I need to figure it out. It's a combination. It's prayer, bringing God into the situation, but also understanding He's given us wisdom and discernment, and He's put us in leadership positions. So we do have to make decisions, and we can base it on several things: what we know, our experience, and sometimes it's our gut, because we don't have the empirical evidence that we really always want to have to make it. Oh yeah, it's this, or at least it's 80% in this favor. But it is that combination. It's not an either or. I appreciate that. Well, moving into a little bit of you and your leadership development, what are you currently learning, or things that you're studying to continue to grow as a leader?
Yeah, I think I'm still learning a lot about the honesty piece and just being myself in leadership. I think I came into leadership thinking I had to be some version of myself that I was not, or I needed to scale up the professionalism. I needed to scale up, and that's very important, and you should always be professional in your workplace. But I think the degree that I had in mind that I had to reach was going to be far too much for the actual setting of my workplace and would have been inauthentic. So I've been learning a lot about just being myself, and my team knows me, and they know who I am as a person. They know how I process information. They know what's important to me. So trying to connect the dots is essentially an integrity piece. What are you motivated by? What do you care about? How do you make decisions? What's important to you? And then are you actually living that out in the workplace and in your day-to-day and in every interaction with your team and with your colleagues that your team watch? So trying to be really honest with them about who I am, calling out my own weaknesses at times when it's appropriate, and saying, you know what? That was maybe not the best, and here's a redirect. Like, I'm sorry about that. I dropped that ball, and taking ownership there, but being honest and saying, you know what, that's not a strength. We're going to work on that, and being honest about your strengths and saying, I'm particularly gifted in this because that's been affirmed by other people to me, and it gives me life, and it's something I'm excited about, and I want to keep doing this. So being able to be honest on both ends too.
It's good. It is a balance. Again, we have a theme today. It is balancing both of those, and it's a constant journey. But I do really appreciate your intentionality in that. Just sharing with people what is going well, what's not, and owning it. That's great. So you mentioned several times there's been change in things that are happening in your current job. So how are you adapting to change during this season? And I'll add a little caveat, and staying spiritually, mentally healthy and being able to move forward. It's a balance. How's that affecting you? What's going on there?
It is a lot of moment by moment prayer, genuinely, because each day looks different right now. And I may get a call first thing in the morning that adds a new project to my plate that came from higher ups, and they don't necessarily know what's on my plate now. They don't know the things that I'm working on, but this is now taking priority. So I have to be flexible, and I have to be able to take those things and reprioritize and delegate what I can and equip my team to move the work forward. So it's a lot of flexibility, which is not necessarily a strength. So I've been learning a lot about that. And then asking my leaders for priorities and saying, this is what's on my plate. What do I need to do? What is absolutely mission critical? What is important and needs to get done? But if this ball drops, it's not going to be the end of the world. And then what things can I either give to somebody else to do or just not do? That's been
great.
helpful with all of the change too.
You kind of answered this, but I'll ask it in a different way. What's stretching your leadership today?
Yeah, definitely that flexibility piece and needing to take things day by day and hour by hour and say, you know what, I just got a meeting on my calendar. That's going to be 2 hours of my day, and I did not plan for that. So how do I rework things? Or there's been, more change, more turnover, and now everybody's workload is different or different objectives, or now more people are speaking into things than there were before, and how do we navigate that? It's been very stretching for me, but it's been really helpful and really good at the same time.
Good. Sounds like it's teaching you not a new skill set, but it's developing that skill muscle a little bit more, the flexibility. Not that we really want to grow in that many times, but it does help in the future. You're being prepared, for more flexibility there. Well, that's great. Thinking of passing your information on to others, let's think of Hayley, say 10 years ago, or whatever number you want to pick. What would you give your younger self advice, knowing what you know now in leadership and what you've learned, and you're continuing to learn and grow and develop as a leader? What would you give yourself for advice?
I think given my personality and my tendency to craft my own role or the way that I project myself or present myself, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give myself that I'm currently learning is being authentic is the healthiest leadership style. And really being yourself, playing to your strengths and finding people to help supplement in your weaknesses, asking people for honest feedback, and just being real with your team, being real with your leaders and saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm motivated by, this is what's important to me, this is why I do what I do. I think that being told that at a younger age, that's actually a strength and that's a healthy way to lead, I think would have helped me a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
This may be the same answer. I'll ask the question differently. What do emerging leaders most need today? Is it that authenticity you're talking about, being authentic, being real, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think being reminded that you are a unique person, you have unique giftings that the Lord has given you, and the reason He's calling you into positions of leadership is to use those unique gifts. So being honest about the fact that the Lord has called you into leadership and not some ideal version of you is really, really helpful and really important.
That's good.
So being real, being authentic, having integrity, like connecting all those dots from mission to action. Yeah.
No, I really do hope when people are watching this, that is so true, and it's so true through the Bible. People always push back on God when He's called people and but I'm not ready, or make excuses. And we tend to do that today. We're still humans. But you're right. He is calling us as we are, and He knows everything. And to embrace, not to stay where we are, but to embrace the calling and to move forward. I think that's, a lot of people miss that connection of, I'm not getting called for the future me. I'm getting called for the current, and the future will come, but it takes that intentionality. So, yeah. So a couple rapid fire questions for you.
Bring it.
Your favorite leadership book?
I have been working through Culture Matters by Jenny Catron, I think is how you say her name. Catron.
Yeah.
You had her on your podcast, actually. So I have been reading that book, and I actually led a group through it at work, which was really fun. But it's highly practical. It's not overly redundant. I think the introduction she's making an argument for why culture is as important as she thinks it is. So there is some repetitive language and arguments there, but from that point on, the rest of the book is highly practical and very, very good.
Yeah.
It's clear and it's helpful, and I believe she talks about in her book being in leadership at her local church for some time. So it is also through a faith and Christian lens, which I love because I can see that in everything that she's suggesting and everything she's saying. So it's been really helpful for me in leadership to read that book and think, how do I actually cultivate the culture of my team? How do we contribute to the culture of the organization? How do we improve and grow? Because culture is never stagnant. So it's been really helpful.
That is one of my top recommended books, I have to say. It's a great culture book. She does a great job breaking it down. Thank you. I'm glad you were able to take a team through that. Did they appreciate it?
They did.
That was a loaded question, but
Yeah,
did they?
well,
Okay.
yeah, they.
Okay.
I got good feedback.
Okay,
so.
good. All right. Favorite Bible passage?
It depends on the day, but
That's
today.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah, today is Psalm 16, and that's on rotation pretty regularly. But in it, the psalmist is saying that the lines have fallen for me in pleasant places, and surely I have a beautiful inheritance. And at the Lord's right hand is fullness of joy, and in his presence pleasures forevermore. So just being reminded that the Lord himself is my portion. The Lord himself is the greatest good that I have and will ever have, and that he orchestrates good things for me. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places.
Amen.
So just reminding, it's kind of a drumbeat in my life. Like, the Lord is good, he is your good, and he does good for you.
Thanks. One word that defines great leadership.
Authentic. We'll
Okay.
just bring it right
Yeah,
back.
there we go, full circle.
Yep.
Okay, well, for you, closing comments. We're nearing the end of our podcast. If you wanted people to remember one thing from today's conversation, what would you want that to be?
I would say, if you are in a position of leadership, it's because the Lord has called you to leadership. So asking the Lord to show you how to honor him in that, and asking the Lord to show you day by day, minute by minute, what that looks like. I think that's the most important takeaway from my time in leadership, and the thing that I would want somebody to take away from this.
Well, thank you. It's been great having you on today.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I really appreciate your honesty, answering the questions, and just the dialogue has been great. And I really do hope, as people watch this, is they're able to reflect on where are you in leadership? Where are challenges that you're facing that you need to be more authentic? You need to be more communicable with people and able to communicate clearly, or maybe you're doing too much or too little. Just take that time to reflect after you watch the podcast or during it, and feel free to reach out to us at faithdrivenleadership.co as well if we can be of assistance to you. But just as a reminder to everybody, if you don't, please do like and subscribe to the podcast, and leave a comment below. How has this blessed you? How can we be of assistance to you, or any challenges that it's been? And just a reminder for all of us, we do want to remind ourselves, we want to lead with clarity, grow with courage, and change what really matters. Have a great day.